Hey there everybody, Coach Brandon here. So this is an off week between curriculums. We just finished the closed guard. We're starting open guard next week, but right here in the middle, we don't really have anything structured. So what I decided to do was I wanted to go back and teach you guys some escapes again. It is my belief that escapes are one of the absolute most important skills for your development in Jiu-Jitsu. It doesn't matter how good your closed guard is, how good your arm bar is, or your triangle. You won't be able to do any of it until you know how to get out of those bad positions and get back to a position where you can be offensive from. There's nothing worse than being held down helplessly underneath mount, side control, north-south, or having somebody on your back and you just can't shake them off. Because then you're stuck there for the entire round, either until the round ends or until you finally get caught in a submission. So now I want to give you guys the tools to learn how to get out of these bad positions. Your number one form of escape in pretty much every position, especially chest-to-chest scenarios, there's going to be variations of the elbow escape. The elbow escape is essentially where I use my elbow to get inside the wedges that are pinning me in place. I create space and hold the wedges away from my body long enough to bring my knee inside the wedges. Once I get my lower body and my legs inside the wedges, I can use my legs to off-balance my opponent, move my opponent, and get more and more inside position until I recover my guard. We're first going to look at how to get out of the mount using the elbow escape, then we might go into the side control and north-south, things like that. We'll see where the video takes us. Again, I don't really have a structure for this week because we're between curriculums, so let's start teaching and see what happens. From the mount position. So here, you can clearly see my elbows on the outside of Adam's knee. You can clearly see my elbow here. Every form of elbow escape starts with getting your elbow inside of the wedge that's holding you. Here. Now you can clearly see my elbows disappeared behind Adam's knee. Adam's knee has the outside position close to the camera. My elbow is between Adam's knee and my body. This is going to allow me to start pushing his knee away and creating enough space to bring my knee to the inside position. Understand that from the mount, Adam's two knees and his hips are the wedges that hold my hips in place. If I wanted to start moving out from underneath them, I'm not going to go anywhere because those knees are holding me in place. So, what I want to do is I want to get my elbow to the inside position. I'm going to take my elbow right here, scraping it along my body, driving it inside his knee. My second hand is going to be here across his hip line. Because if Adam wants to come up to a high mount, if he gets up to a high mount, he can start attacking me. If I have my forearm across his hip line, he cannot come up to a high mount. He tries to come up, and he runs right into my forearm. So now from here, with my frame set, one frame inside the knee, the other frame across the hip line, I'm going to bridge toward the camera. I want to get Adam's weight onto his left knee, or I want to get Adam to base out with his left knee so he doesn't get rolled over. So from this position, I'm going to bridge, not with the goal of getting high, but with the goal of displacing his body weight to the side. So it's a bridge just up to one side. Here. You move this hand, please. Now, from here, my elbow inside the knee, now I'm going to drive my hips away from the knee until I have enough space to bring my knee inside of Adam's leg. Now, if Adam were to try to solidify the mount on me and collapse on me, I can use this leg to start off-balancing, making enough space to go into Ashiguramis, I can go into X guard, or I can just simply replace my guard. But the key notion here is that my elbow starts in the inside position on the knee, and then I use that to off-balance. Now, I can't just use my elbow and try to push and create space here. It's going to be tough. He's in a good solid base. I first want to disrupt his balance with a good strong bridge out to the side. I go right, nice shrimp, and my knee goes to the inside position. Now from here I can bring my left knee to the inside, and now I have butterfly guard, and I can start going on the attack from here. Okay, some other key details here. I'm going to show this now in a little more detail. The first thing I do, I get my elbow inside of his knee, and I set my frame. From here, because I want to drive myself up to one side, most of the power is going to be coming from my left leg. I'm not going to drive off both legs, it's going to drive me straight up. I drive off my left leg to drive me up to my right hand side. As I'm here, my hips are actually off the floor. You guys can see my ribs coming off, my hips coming off, and that allows me to move my hips. If my hips are on the floor, it's much harder to shrimp and move my hips because of the drag and the friction along the mat. So keeping my hips off the floor, I'm going to start to shrimp my hips away. Another critical detail. I'm going to take my knee and I'm going to point it at the back of Adam's knee. If my knee points up to the ceiling with my foot lower than my knee, I'll run into the back of his hamstring. I want to take my foot higher than my knee so that my knee aims down at Adam's knee. That's where I'm going to have the most space to escape. Now I move my hips away and I look to connect my right knee and my right elbow together to help me bring my right knee to the inside position. Now from here I can either go into my guard by bringing my left knee through. I can bring my leg around to go to Ashigarami. And of course, anytime I have Ashigarami, I can also transition into the X guard. Now, sometimes your elbow won't be long enough to push his knee out. Sometimes I go to push and my elbow will start to slip off. Okay, I'm here, I just don't have the reach. When I don't have the reach to use my elbow, I often recommend using a hand and doing so in a very specific way. You'll often hear people say, never put your hand on the knee, and there's a lot of truth to this. If I start putting my hand on the knee in a naive fashion, I expose myself to kimuras, to underhooks, and then I can start walking my arm up. All sorts of bad things start to happen. Do not put your hand on the knee from this position with your elbow exposed. I only put my hand on the knee when I can tuck and hide my elbow underneath my own body. And the way that I do that is once again by getting my ribs and hips off the floor so I can tuck my elbow in underneath my body. So I set my frames, I drive up, and my elbow comes underneath. Now from here I can put my hand on the inside of the knee, not the top of the knee, on the inside. Now, if Adam were to go for a kimura, he goes for an underhook, there's nothing there for him. Now once again I'm going to push myself away, pointing my knee at the back of his knee, moving my hips until my knee comes through. Once my knee is through, the story's the same. I can bring my second knee through for guard, I can go Ashigarami, or I can go X guard. It's all the same. Let's see. One problem that you'll come up against is if I'm framing against the knee and I'm trying to push the knee away, intelligent opponents will replace their knee with their foot. Okay? Going into a position that we often refer to as technical mount. He's technically still in the mount position. So down to the knee. So what this will look like, I'll take my knee and my elbow inside the knee, I'll go to my bridge, and he moves. Now at this point, it's incredibly important that I try to keep my elbow back. I never want my elbow to cross the center line. If my elbow crosses the center line, he's going to take my back. So I've got to leave my elbow behind. Okay, that's a critically important detail for any elbow escape, by the way, even if he doesn't do this, put the knee back down. If I just go into my elbow escape and I reach, I expose my back. So I always want to keep my elbow on this side of the center line. If I'm bridging up, my elbow stays back here. If my arm goes across the center line, that's where the danger starts. In truth, to ensure that I never bring the arm across the center line, I never even want my elbow to get close to the center line. So I'm going to keep my elbow outside the hip, the side line, the line that joins the hip and the shoulder. I keep my elbow out here. When I go to bridge, I leave my elbow back, so there is no back exposure. So, now that we understand that notion, let's bring that back to the technical mount. As I go to bridge up, when Adam switches, I got to make sure my elbow doesn't come across the body. I keep my elbow behind. Now, the knee used to hold us before, now it's the foot. So the same thing, I'm going to dig my elbow inside the foot, wedging my elbow to the floor to make sure my elbow gets between my hip and his ankle. Now that my elbow is inside position on his ankle, I'm going to shrink my hips away, using my elbow to push his ankle, and I bring my knee inside. Now from here, if I want to go to Ashigarami, we always go and attack the knee that's off the floor. Okay, we'll learn this more in the open guard. If I ever want Ashigarami, I need two things. I need inside position, which I have here, and I need a knee off the mat. So in this scenario, I'll bring my left knee in, and I'll take my right knee out, and I can spin into the Ashigarami. And then of course, anytime I have Ashigarami, I can also transition into the X guard. And of course, you never even have to go into Ashigarami or X guard if you want. You can just recover the guard as well. Okay? Now sometimes, when I bridge up, he goes to technical mount to defend the elbow escape. Sometimes he's back heeling so well with his ankle that I can't get my elbow inside his ankle. If I can't get my elbow inside the ankle, which is the end of this lever, I'm going to get my elbow inside the end of this lever. I'm going to get my elbow right underneath the knee and the hamstring. So I'm going to do kind of a crunch, or a half sit-up, to drive my elbow inside. I'm going to bridge, let's rotate. I'm going to bridge off my left leg so I can get his weight moving. I'm going to bump him in the leg with my right knee. My whole goal is to get his weight forward onto his hands, get this leg directly over my chest, and get the leg light. So from a good technical mount, I'm in here, bridge to this position here. Now I can bring my knee inside, and lo and behold, we're in the same position. I can either bring my second knee in and then recover guard from here, just recover like a normal guard, or I could bring my left knee in and take my right knee out and go Ashigarami. Anytime I have Ashigarami, I can transition into the X guard. So that's how we deal with a technical mount. Now sometimes you're going to have an opponent who's bigger than you, stronger than you, heavier than you, and you can't actually bridge. It's hard for you to bridge and move your hips off the floor or out to the side. In situations like this, I generally recommend foot fighting techniques. Now, oftentimes, we'll go about here. They'll tuck both feet inside and underneath your legs. Okay, I'm going to get my elbow in the inside position. Now I like to take my left foot to his foot, and I'm going to sort of push his foot out and away. Now from here, my right foot occupies the inside position. I take my right foot close to my butt. Because now when I take my left foot away, when Adam goes to retuck his foot, my ankle holds the inside position. Now my left foot, I'll hook my toes and my shoelaces right underneath. And now my foot lifts the ankle. At the same time, my elbow lifts the knee. And I go out underneath his leg. Now I'm in the half guard. Now from here I could come up in my underhook tight waist. Or I could elbow escape on the second leg and recover my guard. So anytime I have somebody who's bigger or stronger than me, I generally use foot fighting, where I use my feet to fight with his feet until I get to this position here where I can push. My right foot comes close to my butt, and it takes the inside position on the ankle. Now from here, if he were to try to hide his foot again, he's going to run into my right foot. Now I take my left foot, I make my shoelaces right here, and now this is going to help me get out of the mount. Okay? So that's most of my elbow escape game from the mount position. There is another escape from the mount, the bridge escape, where we simply bridge and roll. We trap our opponent's one arm, one leg, and we roll them over the side. Now, I don't have a lot of success with this technique, but it's great for setting up the elbow escape. If I'm here, we've all seen this technique where I control the arm, I trap the leg, I bridge up and over, and I take top position. That works on white belts and more naive grapplers, usually doesn't work on good people. But what it will do is it'll get my opponent to base with their knee oftentimes. I trap, keeping my elbow close to the inside position. I trap and I go to roll. If he widens the knee, I immediately go the other way. I go toward, then away, and the knee's right back in the inside position. Recover the guard. Alright, so that's a lot of good mount escapes for you this week. Basic elbow escape where I get my elbow inside the knee. A lot of details to that. Other arm across the hip line. I bridge up to move my opponent's weight, keeping my hips off the floor. If I can't reach with the elbow, I'll take my arm in underneath my body, get my hand inside the knee, and I point my knee down at their knee. If my opponent transitions to technical mount, now I need to get my knee inside the ankle because he's replaced his knee with his ankle. Get my elbow inside the ankle, frame away, shrimp, until I get my knee to the inside position. If the ankle's too tight, no worries. I frame inside the hamstring back of the knee, take his weight up and over, once again connecting the knee and the elbow together, bringing the knee to the inside position. If my opponent's so large that I cannot bridge to either direction because there's so much weight on my hips, then I generally recommend you use foot fighting techniques, where you're pummeling for the inside position with your ankles until you can hook and lift their ankle with your foot and lift their knee with your elbow together. Then I can sneak up underneath the leg. Okay? And real quick, just because side control is one of the shittiest positions to be stuck underneath, I'm going to show you some side control escapes as well. From side control. Once again, I always want to start with some form of inside position. It's almost always going to be an elbow. The first frame that I get inside is almost always going to be this elbow inside the hip. I pull my shoulder away from the hip, and I shrimp, and I get my elbow inside. Now from here, depending on where this underhook is, I'll either bring my knee in as the second frame or my elbow. I'm going to show the elbow here. Okay, let's say he's down here controlling my hips. The elbow just tight. Yeah. I'm going to bring my frame in, and I'm going to use my two frames here to push and make space. Here. Now I move my hips away and I bring my knee in as a third frame. Okay, so I bring my knee right here in front of his hip. I connect my knee and my elbow together. Now if Adam tries to drive into me, he runs to my knee and my elbow. Now my left elbow flares open and I bring my left knee in the armpit. And now I have literally 4 frames. If Adam was trying to drive into me or do anything at this point, there's no way he's ever going to get chest to chest. And now I can transition from elbow frames to hand frames, and then from knee frames to foot frames, and I can recover my guard. Okay? So, a lot of good tricks for you guys. The elbow escape, again, is always going to be your #1 form of escape from underneath chest pins. Getting that elbow inside whatever wedge is holding you in place. If it's the mount, it's getting it inside the knees. If it's side control, it's generally getting it inside the hip and inside the neck. And then using those elbows to make enough space to start bringing your knees to the inside position. Once you can get your legs to the inside position, your legs are so strong, you can start off balancing to the left, to the right, overhead, and get your opponent really precariously, trying to stay balanced. Okay? If your opponent's sitting on your legs, you should be pumping your legs off, balancing them. They should feel like a small rowboat on a stormy ocean at that point. Once you get those legs inside, you can easily off-balance your opponent. When you off-balance them, they have to spread their base wide to not get swept. When they spread their base wide, they surrender all of the inside position, and it's easy to get back to guard from there. Okay? So I hope this was some good information for you guys this week. Again, I think escapes are one of the absolute most important skills for you to develop in Jiu-Jitsu. If you are not confident in your escapes, you're going to be too nervous to throw up arm bars and triangles and other attacks from the guard. Because oftentimes when you throw up arm bars and triangles, it gives your opponent an opportunity to pass if they know what they're doing. If you are not confident in your escapes, and somebody passes your guard every time you try to attack, pretty soon you're not going to attack anymore. You don't want to end up in bottom side control or bottom mount, so you're just going to hang on and you're not going to work your attacks. However, if you have the confidence that anytime you're stuck in side control or anytime you're stuck in the mount, you can get out like that, then you're going to throw up attacks all day, knowing and be confident that if your opponent passes your guard, it's no big deal. You can easily get back to the guard position to launch even more attacks. So make your escapes a big part of your study and development in Jiu-Jitsu. Once you are rock solid, confident in your escapes, you'll start having the confidence to go forward and start attacking and taking a proactive, aggressive attacking style with your Jiu-Jitsu. Thanks for watching, guys.